Welcome. My name is Amanda Stevens. I'm a holistic practitioner. Welcome to this yin yoga practice, especially for your happiness within that heart and within your hips. So as a holistic practitioner, my goal is to carry you through chaos, overwhelm, stress, and trauma, and do that through the movement of the body, the movement of breath, and the movement of sound, to connect you with this inner world of happiness, self-love, peace, and purpose. So I'm so happy to guide you through this practice today. A few things that you may need. I have a few blocks handy. I have a yoga bolster. Feel free to just grab a few pillows as well. And a nice firm blanket. So you can use a blanket or even a towel will work as well. So again, welcome. And we're going to begin our practice in a simple seat. So I'm actually going to use that blanket just to elevate my hips slightly. And then just really start to anchor in through those hip points. Add a little bit of gentle movement here, maybe through your shoulders. Allow any wiggles that need to happen to allow you to drop in and settle into some stillness here. And when you're ready, let's do 3 breaths together. So let's start with an inhale in through our nose, sending that breath all the way down to that soft belly. Allow the ribs to expand, and then exhale that breath out through an open mouth. Again, inhaling through the nose, softness to the belly. Ribs expand, take that breath full, pause and hold, soften out, and sip in just a little more air. Then exhale through an open mouth. This time squeezing those ribs in together, lifting that pelvic bone up slightly to engage that core to swish out all of that breath. Inhaling one more time, belly soft, ribs expand. Once that breath is full, pause, hold, and soften, sip in just a little bit more air. Exhale through that open mouth, squeezing those ribs down and in, engaging that core, bringing out all of that breath until there's no breath left. And then finding a steady inhale and exhale, allowing those eyelids to fall closed or your gaze to drop below your nose. Happiness comes from within. When I say happiness, I am not talking about a fleeting emotion. I'm talking about a deep state of happiness and peace that is not affected by external factors. To reach this state, you have to look within. When you look within, it's through the practice of meditation, contemplation, prayer, or practicing yoga that you find this world within. In this internal world, there are thoughts, feelings, memories, sensations, emotions. The richness that is found within is worth so much more than money could ever buy. Everything you could ever want is already within you. It already exists. All the knowledge, creativity, strength, inspiration, wisdom, and love is inside you. So as we move through this yin practice today, I invite you to follow these 3 laws. Find your edge, then find stillness, and let time flow. I will offer up a mantra for you to repeat silently in your mind to help assist with the stillness in your mind. And as new thoughts come in, just gently return your focus back to the mantra or simply to your breath. Ram Dass stated, the quieter the mind becomes, the more you can hear. I invite you to use our time together to connect with your internal world, your happiness, your oneness. One final inhale, soft, that belly and ribs expand. And exhaling either through the nose or the closed or open mouth. Allowing those eyes to come back open. We'll prepare for our first posture, Buddha Konasana or butterfly. So we're going to take the soles of our feet together here. The knees are going to come out towards the side. You can use a few props here to help you settle, to help you find that edge. So you can have props underneath those knees. We can also use our bolster to rest it over our belly here and just allow your body to roll forward. So we're going to roll through that spine. We're going to allow our head to hang. We're going to sort of let our body sort of relax into the stillness, into the props. Create a little bit of opening through those hips and through our spine. So you may have to adjust. Maybe the blocks have to come down, or maybe there's no blocks at all. Maybe this bolster comes to your feet and you really round forward. Another option is to take your block, place it on those feet or just in front, and allow that head to round in, placing that forehead down towards the block. So this is where we shift and move and find what it's going to take to find that edge for us. This edge is not finding this point of pain. This edge is finding an opening, finding that place that we can release. So once we land there is when we invite in the stillness. And feel free to adjust these props as we roll through these next few minutes that we land here in this butterfly shape. So a mantra I will offer up that you can repeat silently in your mind is, everything I want exists within me. Everything I want exists within me. Allowing your hips to open, allowing your spine to round, lengthening through the hamstrings, opening through the hips, creating a little bit of stress here to our lower back. Also energetically opening up some meridians along those hips, stimulating that gallbladder. Energetically opening the meridians along those inner knees to stimulate the kidneys and the liver. And the sensations along the spine to stimulate that urinary bladder. If we have knee pain here, please use those blocks to elevate the posture. Shift some of that weight maybe back onto the seat to allow that forehead to round forward. And I will leave you here for about 2 more minutes. Everything I want exists within me. Maybe even here, matching the mantra to your breath. As you repeat on an inhale, everything I want exists within me. Exhaling, everything I want exists within me. Inhaling, everything I want exists within me. Exhaling, everything I want exists within you. Staying with your breath, staying with your mantra. Three more breaths. Planting those hands down to straighten out that spine. There's no rush to shift or change. Do these movements slowly. I'm going to move whatever props I have here off to the side. I'm going to place my hands on either side of those thighs and just gently close those knees back together. I'm going to widen out those feet so they're about hip-width distance apart or slightly further. Hands behind my hips and tick-tock those knees from side to side. Just releasing through those hips, straightening out through that spine as we prepare for our next posture. So the knees, we're going to invite that stillness back in. We're going to extend our legs out long, creating this wide A type shape or straddle. So depending on how tight your hamstrings are or where your knees are at, you may need to take some blocks here, place them underneath your thigh, and that's going to help alleviate some of the tightness in those hamstrings. Or we can have our legs just extended. I'm still cushioned with my hips slightly elevated with that blanket. So feel free, again, depending on the tightness, you might want to double up or use 2 blankets to support underneath your hips, or perhaps removing it completely. So from here, positioning those blocks where I'd like them to be on my legs. I'm also going to have my bolster handy out in front and maybe an extra block as well. So from here, we're going to find an inhale, growing tall. And as we exhale, we're going to allow our spine to round forward again. So the chin can draw up towards our chest. We can roll forward here, perhaps placing our elbows on that bolster and our forehead, or our hands to cradle the forehead. Depending on the tightness of those hamstrings, perhaps you round forward, placing your head on the bolster again, or the block. We can adjust the height. There's 3 different levels of that block, or even a Kleenex block, or Kleenex box would work here for you as well. So letting your body land. Again, we're going to be here for about 3 minutes. So as you set up for this posture, we want to be supported. We do not want to be painful, but we want to find that edge. So we should feel a little tension on our hamstrings here. You might feel a little bit of a release through the back side of your body, your spine, as we round forward here. So as you land, as time passes, you may have to adjust your props to allow your body to receive an even deeper stretch. We do not want to get to this point where we are holding our breath or we can't breathe through it and we're just anxiously waiting for the next cue to change postures. We want to be able to land there and just find that edge, and then we just let time pass. So as we round forward here, we're beginning to massage those reproductive organs that can support us through any menstrual problems. We're targeting the flexion of those hips, spinal flexion. So again, we think about that spine, we're stimulating that urinary bladder. And as we lengthen through the back side of those legs and the outside of those hips, we're stimulating the gallbladder. So energetic things are happening here as well, besides creating some tension to our joints and lengthening out through our muscles. And creating some healthy tension to those tendons. So as you slowly find that shape that works for you and you found your edge, now we invite in the stillness. Allow yourself to land here. Let time flow as you repeat, I am inspiration. I am inspiration. Perhaps again, matching that mantra with your breath, breathing in, I am inspiration. Exhaling, I am inspiration. Allowing yourself to land here for 10 more breaths. I am inspiration. Breathe in and breathe out. And again, moving slowly with no rush. Begin to push into your hands or your props, straightening out through the spine. Again, there is no rush. Maybe bringing some bend back to those knees. And I'm just going to swing over, making my way into a tabletop. Taking my blocks around towards the top of the mat here. And moving my blanket just over towards the side. So from tabletop, my hands are underneath my shoulders, my knees underneath hips. I'm going to reach and kick back my right leg. I'm going to find an inhale here. As I exhale, I'm going to draw that knee in towards my nose. We're going to be here 3 times, rounding through that spine. Inhale to extend, reach that leg back. Exhale, we round in, finding cat spine. Exhale to reach and extend that right leg back. Once there, we're going to take that extended right leg. We're going to bend at the knee and cross it over that left knee that's planted. So we're going to prepare for cow face legs here. Then that extended right leg, once it's tucked, we're going to plant it. And we're going to walk those hands back to meet our chest, shifting all the way back onto our seat and creating any adjustments here that we need. So I'm trying to bring my knees so they're aligned, stacked on top of each other. Your knees may not get there. Your feet can be out as an extension, 90 degrees, or we can bring them in a little bit tighter. So again, I guess we should have some blocks handy. You can use some blocks here to help support that top knee. If this does not feel good and safe for your knees, that bottom leg is going to stay extended, and you can get to this posture a different way. Just come onto your seat, extend the right leg, that left leg is going to cross over. So again, you can use some props here to support that knee. And when you're ready, grow tall through the spine, maybe find an inhale. Keep that weight shifted here onto your seat, onto those 2 bony parts that are connected to your mat. With your weight anchored onto your seat, let's allow that spine to round. Allow that chin to fall towards our chest. And again, perhaps we place our elbows on some props. Our forehead can rest into the palms of our hands. Or perhaps those hands walk out. Our chest melts and attaches to that thigh. Arms reach out, maybe palms are facing up, and we round forward. So checking in with whatever shape is going to support you best here. Opening up through that hip again. Rounding and flexing through the spine. Once you've landed, then find your stillness. Once you've found that edge is where we tap into the stillness. And then we allow time to flow, to pass. Offering up the mantra, I am strength. I am strength. So again, we're targeting our hips here, releasing through our hamstrings, creating the same type of almost energetic freeness that we did in the previous postures with the rounding through the spine. We get to release through that kidney meridian and working in through that hips again. We're focusing on that gallbladder, liver areas as well. So release into your breath here. I am strength. I am strength. Find your edge and allow yourself to land here again for about 10 more breaths. I am strength. Slowly coming out of the rounding of the spine. I'm going to move my hands to the inside of this top left foot, one that's draped over. I'm just going to shift my weight there so I can kind of shift that top leg forward, walking my hands forward and around towards the top of the mat, bringing my left leg with me forward, finding myself in a low lunge here to prepare for our dragon posture. So in dragon, I'm just going to set up here. I'm going to lift up put pressure into my back toes so I can just drag that right knee back a little bit deeper, depending on where you want to be there and how much we're going to open up through that hip. I'm going to have my hands here planted on blocks. I'm going to release that right leg so the shoelace part of my foot is connected. And I'm going to allow this front knee to start dragging forward. Even if it happens to drag past your toes here, we're going to let that be okay. Maybe it's a little bit of extra tension that we're creating for that knee joint. And again, allowing yourself to land here. Another option, if we're here to generate maybe some more heat, we can curl the toes under, lift that back knee up off the ground. And we're going to be here for a couple of minutes. So that's an option for you as well. So just kind of checking in with where you need to be to find your edge. And as we land here in dragon, I'm going to offer up the mantra, I am creativity. I am creativity. Breathing in, I am creativity. And exhaling, I am creativity. Using your blocks here to help you, to support you. You can have them on the highest height. As you find and move through time and you can lower and drop into it deeper, I invite you to do so by adjusting your props. And land here with your breath. And allow time to flow. Making any little adjustments that you need. And again, if you've really found your edge already and you've lost your breath through this process, back yourself out of the shape a little bit. Allow yourself permission to tap into that sense of that internal knowledge that you have, that internal wisdom that you have. We're not trying to fight through that wisdom, we're actually trying to honor it and listen it. That's how we find that edge. The happiness and everything we need exists within us. We have to choose to listen and honor. It's always a choice. Bringing that left hand down to the inside of that left foot. We're going to go into winged dragon. So I'm just going to heel toe my left foot out a little bit closer to the edge of my mat. I'm going to flex through the toes of my left foot and then allow my knee to fall out towards the side, planting on the outside edge of that left foot. From here, we have an option to stay tall, or perhaps we can drop down onto our forearms here. If we need to create a little bit more height, we can use our bolster on top of those blocks. So taking a moment here to get yourself set up to find your edge. Once we land into our edge, we find our breath, and we're going to be here for 5 full breaths. I am creativity, breathe in. Exhaling, I am creativity, breathe out. Allow your head to relax here. Bringing that left foot, planting it back down, lifting ourselves up off of those props. Then I'm going to step back here. I'm going to curl the toes under of my right foot. Left foot's going to come back, either stepping through to child's pose or finding downward dog for 2 rounds of breath here. So whether you found downward dog or child's pose, let's go ahead and come back to tabletop. From tabletop, we are going to extend our left leg out, reaching it out nice and long on an inhale. Exhale, drawing that knee into our nose, rounding through our spine. Inhale, extending, reaching that left leg. Exhale, rounding through, creating that cat spine as you draw that knee into your chest. One more time, inhale to extend. Exhale to draw the knee to the nose. This time as we extend that left leg, we're going to bend at the knee, drag that left leg over and across that right knee that's planted on the mat. Anchor it down, then walk those hands back to meet our seat. Again, if that's not accessible for you, just make your way onto a seat. Straightening out that left leg and then crossing your right leg over the left. So here again, you can have trying to bring those knees so they're aligned and stacked. We can bring those heels a little bit closer to our seat, or perhaps they stay out. We can use blocks to help support our knees. Another option is to have that right leg extended, right knee flexed, and using a prop to help support us. Once you've landed, anchor down through both of those hip points. Find both those points. And inhale. And as you exhale, anchor through the seat and allow your spine here to round. Allow your chest to melt down through that thigh. We can have our forearms out in front of us, palms facing up. Head rounds in. Perhaps use a block for our forehead. We can have a bolster resting on our legs or a blanket or a pillow just to support our body as we round through. Once you've found your edge, kind of wiggle out through your postures, or through this posture using different props to help you land there. Once you've found it, that's where we again follow those 3 laws. Find your edge, find stillness, and then let time flow. That's it. And as we let time flow, maybe honoring what's coming up for us internally. Maybe there's thoughts, feelings, memories, sensations, emotions. We can acknowledge that. Then come back to your breath. Come back to that inhale and that exhale. Perhaps using the mantra, I am wise. Inhaling, I am wise. Exhaling, I am wise. Inhaling, I am wise. Exhaling, I am wise. And then allowing time to pass. Allowing your spine to round. Allowing that top hip to release, to invite in that external rotation. And honoring if there's any pain that did pop up and making any adjustments that we need to here. Maybe really allowing that chin to draw towards your chest, to really round through that cervical spine as well. I am wise. Allowing yourself to land here for 10 more rounds of breath. About another minute, so if you need to readjust to fall back into that edge, I invite you to do so. Slowly rounding or straightening out the rounded spine. I'm going to bring my hand to the inside of this right foot, just to shift some of my weight forward, walking those hands around to the front of my mat, taking my right foot with me, again making our way into that dragon stance. So right leg forward here, I'm going to curl the toes under of my back, left leg to drag that left knee back to really open up through my hip, and also to release that quadricep of my left leg. I'm going to have my blocks handy here, framing either side of my right foot. And then again, we can drag that right knee forward here. You can even drag closer towards those toes to create a little healthy tension again on that ankle. So taking a moment to find that edge. Again, the toes can stay curled underneath, and that back knee can be lifted. So playing around with what it is that your body needs to receive in this posture. And then coming back to your breath. Knowledge exists within me. Knowledge exists within me. Or I am knowledgeable. I am knowledgeable. Finding 5 more full, deep inhales and exhales here. Slow in that breath as you breathe in, I am knowledgeable. And breathe out, I am. knowledgeable. maybe even that right hand comes in, we still keep that right knee tucked in, and you find your forearms here as well. We're going to go ahead and flex the toes, just an option, you can stay as you are, or we go into winged dragon. So flexing the toes of the right foot, allowing that right knee to fall open to the side and find that knife edge, outer edge of that right foot. And then allowing the hips to become heavy to find yourself in your edge. And find 5 deep, full rounds of breath. As you breathe in, I am knowledge itself. And breathe out, I am knowledge itself. Let's go ahead and bring that right knee back towards center. Slowly lift up off of your props. We're going to make our way again, your choice, whether it's downward dog or child's pose. So dragging that right foot back, finding child's pose or finding a downward dog here. Landing here for 2 rounds of breath. Whichever version you chose, making your way back to a tabletop. Perhaps just moving some props out of the way. And we're going to come into our next posture, which is going to be half saddle pose. So maybe you can make your way onto a seat, and we're going to access this posture a little bit differently. So all the way onto your back here as well. Once you've landed on your back, we're going to bend those knees so the feet are planted on the ground. We're going to widen out our feet so they're on either edge of the mat or perhaps even a little bit wider. From there, let's find an inhale. And as we exhale, let's drop the knees over towards the right. So shoulders are going to stay anchored here. Knees fall to the right. So you can stay just as you are here. Or this left foot, we're slowly going to walk it up or grab a hold of it with that left hand. And we're going to drag it up closer towards our seat. Maybe release that flexion of the ankle, and you can maybe point those toes. And draw that heel up as close as you can to your seat to really get that big quad stretch here, and also get a little bit of different rotation in through your hip socket there as well. And you can adjust that ankle. Do what's going to feel good for you. Again, that edge shouldn't be painful. But you should feel that stretch through the top of your left leg. So as you land here, just let your body sort of go, let yourself relax, feel and find your edge, and then breathe in, I am love. Exhale, I am love. Another option you can add into this posture with your upper body, maybe you even want to grab a hold of your opposite wrists, or maybe even opposite elbows, or maybe even just cactus your arms up above your head, just to get even more of a release through the upper body as well, and receive some benefits energetically of opening up through that heart and lung meridian. As we let go of the top part of that thigh, we're also stimulating energetically the meridians into the stomach and into the spleen. Coming back to your breath here. I am love. I am love. Breathing in love. Letting love go. Again, if this feels hard on your knees, feel free to not draw that left heel as close up to your seat. Maybe allowing a little more space is what your body needs. It's just honoring whatever comes up there for 5 more breaths. Alright, so we're going to slowly begin to bring those knees back up to center. Extending both of our legs out nice and long. We're going to find an inhale and we're going to imagine that we're contracting to lift our kneecaps up. So we're tightening our quads and then exhale to release. Inhale, tighten those quads. Imagine lifting those kneecaps up closer to your hip points and release. One more time. Contracting that lower body, your legs, and release. Drawing those feet back, planting your feet, knees towards the sky, widening out through those feet. Either the edge of the mat or slightly wider. Finding an inhale. Using the exhale to drop both knees over towards the left and half saddle again. Shoulder blades here are both staying anchored. We have the option to walk that right foot or grab a hold of that, use the right hand to grab a hold of that right foot and draw it up closer towards your right hip. You can play around with either flexion or extension within that ankle joint. You might feel a little bit of a release if we point those toes. Play around with both and settle into your edge and what your edge looks like for you today. Finding our edge is not the same every day. Some days our body may allow us to go deeper, and some days it's requiring us to hold back. So again, that's tapping in with that internal wisdom, that knowledge, that love, this knowing that everything that we need is already within us. You don't need my guidance to take you to your edge, because your edge is going to be different than mine. Just work and shift until you find what that edge is for you. Then find your stillness and allow time to flow. Finding an inhale for a count of 5. And an exhale for a count of 5. Inhale for a count of 5. Exhale for a count of 5. Continuing on your own for a few more rounds. Slowly releasing, bringing your feet down towards the mat again, knees drawn up to center. Exhaling those legs out nice and long. Finding an inhale And use an exhale here to contract your legs. Imagine drawing those kneecaps up. And release. Using your breath to draw and lift those kneecaps up. And using your breath to release. One more time here. Inhaling, activating, and then releasing. We're going to conclude our practice with a twist, resting for about a minute towards each side, or 5 of those breaths. So keeping our shoulder blades anchored here. We can keep our feet on the floor as well, or we can bring those knees up so they're about stacked over top of our hips, making a 90 at our knees and at our hips. So finding an inhale here, exhaling, allowing the knees to fall and drop over towards the left. If our feet are planted, we're just going to do the same thing, allow the knees to fall, keeping that right shoulder here anchored. Our arms can be cactus, they can be teed out to the side, your choice here. Maybe that gaze wraps over that right shoulder going into the full rotation. Then allow yourself to land. Here's where maybe you don't necessarily have to find that edge anymore, but just letting go of the edge and just allowing your body an opportunity to resettle its spine. And come back to the breathing in for the count of 5 and breathing out for the count of 5. Engaging through your core here to bring those knees back up to center. And use your next exhale to go ahead and drop your knees over towards the right. Left shoulder stays anchored and rooted and grounded. Gaze goes over towards the left, if it feels okay and supported by your neck. Breathing in for your count of 5. And breathing out for your count of 5. Bringing those knees back to center, planting the feet back down towards the ground. And then making your way into your final resting pose for Shavasana. You can use a bolster here underneath your knees. Perhaps your Shavasana today is calling for you to lay on your belly. Invite whatever option in today that's going to support you. Or maybe it's side lying using your bolster. So use whatever you'd like for your props here to help land you into this final posture. Once you land here, perhaps doing 3 of those same cleansing let it go breaths, the same way we began practice. So find that inhale through your nose, softness to the belly, allow the ribs to expand. Pause and hold the top of the breath, find a little softness to sip in just a little bit more air. Then exhale through that open mouth. Feel the ribs squeeze down in, engaging through the belly. Inhaling softness to the belly, ribs expanding in all directions. Finding softness at the top of the breath, sipping in just a little bit more air. And then exhaling through that open mouth, using those ribs to squeeze and empty out that whole breath. Draw that pubic bone up to your ribs, engaging that core to empty, empty, empty all that breath out. Inhaling through the nose, soft belly, ribs expanding. Pause and hold the top of the breath. Sip in just a little bit more air, deepest, fullest breath you've taken all day. Exhaling it out through the open mouth, using your core muscles to empty that breath out with completion, no breath left, then allowing a natural, steady inhale and exhale to fill your body, to fill your mind, and to fill all of that space we created within our hips and within that internal part of our being. Allowing here your mind to become quieter. This is the natural completion to the journey. Notice and feel energy moving through you. Your body relaxed, dropping the shoulders, relaxing the hips, releasing the hands, releasing the feet. Body relaxed even deeper, yet your mind is alert. By quieting the mind and finding stillness in our inner world, we begin to experience this reality under the hardness of the muscles, the concreteness of the bones. We connect to a deep flow of energy like a river within. The subtle flow of energy exists everywhere and anywhere. It manifests out of space and disappears into space. Feel the echo of your energy. Feel the echo of your breath. Feel the echo in your body. Feel and find where happiness lives in your body. And then land in its stillness. I'm going to bring our practice to a close, but I encourage you to stay in that resting position for as long as you have time. So I'm going to bring my hands to heart center, bowing in. May happiness fill your heart. May happiness fill your hips. And may that happiness radiate into your homes. Thank you for allowing me to guide you through this practice. Namaste.